everybody. Good afternoon. Well, I'm doing something that I've never done before. I'm raking. We're making some hay. I had an excess, gigantic stand, unbelievably thick, of clover. You know, we don't feed hay to our cows. We stockpile and then we utilize it throughout the winter. Stockpile. However, when we wean our calves, we typically will have to have some hay. And depending on how long and what I need to do with them, that's how much hay I need. And so I got together with a neighbor of mine and we worked out a little deal where he hays. This is all of his equipment except for the tractor. And it's good hay. It's really turning out to be nice. But he hays, and I was able to, you know, let him kind of do most of the work. Look, hang on. We're having to dodge trees. He didn't much like that, but that is part of it. When you're haying stuff that's kind of native stuff, you may have to dodge some trees, and so I'm having to dodge some trees. So, but the bottom line is, it's making clover hay. We're going to use it for our yearlings when we wean, only when we have them in the pens and when we're weaning them. So, it's the first time for me. See how he basically just cut it kind of where the real thick stand of clover was, and you can kind of see what it looks like up in there. It's about 26 acres, so it's not a huge amount, but we'll see how many bales it makes. I think it's making quite a few bales. He'll have to figure that up. I guess we'll count them at the end, but he thinks it's going to make around 150, 160 bales, so that's great. So we're excited. One of the reasons I decided to hay that, I actually had my dad come over and we visited about it for a little bit, because he manages, that's how I learned to manage. You know, he manages the same way. We don't want to take nutrients from the land. However, this particular instance, the clover was so tall and thick that it was shading out everything. And I had a lot of eastern gamagrass that I had sowed in there several years ago. Not thick, just sporadic. I just wanted to get some going out there to kind of let it spread. And you can see after we cut that clover out, boy howdy, that stuff was in big trouble, because that clover was so thick it was shading every bit of it out. Now, what it did was we gave it plenty of time to fix the nitrogen, at least get it in the soil where it'll be there, it's ready to go when things start utilizing it to treat the roots down below. So this is where we've been driving on this stuff, and it got it down on the ground, which is great. You can see where this gamagrass is coming up in here. But this is typically what I would do with something like that was so thick. I would bring my cow herd through here and basically mob graze them. Fence them up like Ian Mitchell Ennis says to do, where it's extremely high stock density. And it will put it on the ground just like what you're seeing out there. Now this is not even close to what it was like out there where we baled. The clover was solid. You didn't see any gamagrass coming up through it. And it was up to my seat on my four-wheeler. And you can see, if you look hard out here, you can see the perennials coming up out here. Just little pieces of them. If you just look out there, you can kind of see the green haze coming. That's wonderful. That's what we want to see. Giving those plants a chance to get some sunlight, get some growth, replenish their root system, and go on. We cut right at 26 acres, cut and baled. We ended up with 189 bales. I couldn't believe it. And at the same time, how thankful I was for that. Because, you know, that was stuff that was just going to kind of go to waste. I mean, it wasn't really, because we would have eventually got it back in the soil. But it was just very awesome to be able to have it here. And so we'll use it. We've got it all stacked on pallets to help keep it dry. It's under cover. So I'm hoping it'll last for a while, because we use so little hay that it needs to last for a while. So we'll see. But it was so fun doing it. I had such a blast doing it, because I actually, and I've never told y'all this, I actually grew up on a wheat farm. And so I did lots of farming growing up, and it was kind of my first love in agriculture. So I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed this. You know, one thing that made this stuff so special for us was, well, number one, it came off of our place, which that means we didn't spray it with any fungicides, herbicides, glyphosates, fertilizer, you know, other than goat and cattle fertilizer. So it's as natural, I guess, as you can get. And it was a very unusual year. We'll have years that we have clover, but not like this. What happens, at least what happens to us, is whenever we have a really dry year, sometimes the forage tends to get a little short. And when it gets short in this country, followed by spring rains, it promotes clover. So this big bladed stuff that you're seeing back here behind me and in the distance, this is all gamma grass, eastern gamma grass. And with the clover and how thick it was, you saw in the picture, you couldn't see any of that coming up through the clover. So that's one of the main reasons that we did it. We wanted to give the gamma grass and the perennials a chance to flourish without being choked out by that, the clover. So that's what you're seeing behind me. Now what we've done is it's been about 3 weeks, and I've fenced the bulls off of this pasture. Because we cut it so short, about 4 inches, I wanted to give it plenty of rest. And not just the gamma grass, other things that are going to come back too. You can also see some of the weeds have come back. You know, we're not worried about weeds. We just don't worry about that. We've got animals that'll utilize that. So it's not a big deal for us. But we do want to see a mix of several different things, not 100% of one thing. And that's kind of what we had with the clover. So it's looking great. We'll continue to give it rest. We'll probably end up giving it about 80 days of rest at least. And then we'll reevaluate it at that point and kind of see if we feel like it's kind of run through its cycle and it's replenished its root system and it's ready to be grazed. So we'll just keep a close eye on it, but we're tickled with what we're seeing. And something that's still good is that the ground is still covered. You can see down through here, you don't see any bare ground. So that's also something that we desire and we want. We can't do it all the time, but that's one of our main goals because we're feeding the soil that way. So this looks really good right here. Okay, thanks for watching. It's getting late, so I'm gonna go hit the hay.